Galdrastafir. What does it mean to you? This video is going to be about them, the history behind them, and when we do them, how do we empower them? How do we charge them? How do we make them become what it is we're expecting them to be? So if you're interested in this subject, carry on watching. Hi guys, this week I want to talk about a very controversial subject, something that might actually not be what you really want to hear. You might ask, what could that be about? Well, I know in this day and age, lots of people that are pagan or heathen like to put the Galdrastafir symbols on their arms and their shirts and use them in a way thinking they come from Nordic tradition, that they come from Viking times, that the Vikings would have used them. But I'm not going to be the one to burst your bubble, but I am going to put you on the right path in knowledge, because that is who I am, guys. Somebody who likes to study to find the truth in things, which is one of the reasons why I don't personally use these symbols. What you do have to remember before I talk about this is that whatever you do in magic, whatever you do in your practice, comes from within you. It is not something that is preordained, that has been written down before. What you do in your practice is what you are doing now. It's not about history, it's not about past. In my practice, I work with the past, so I like to know my past, and I'm afraid the Galdrastafir is not what it pertains to be. Now, all these symbols have been used in modern times. You have to remember that, guys, it's modern times, in the last 80 years maybe, but more recently. People make lots of money out of it. Series have been put on TV depicting these symbols, making people believe that it is pure Viking heritage, Scandinavian, the Danes, all of that. But it is not. These symbols are in history, but they're not way back. They are not pre-Christian, pagan, heathen things. They have actually come from a later period of time and have been seen in many books, but books that are depicting from different areas of the world. What you have to remember is that the Vikings and people before that, as travellers, Vikings meaning travelling, they would go to different continents and be around different people. That there are multicultural parts to this. It isn't just purely Nordic people. They would have travelled, they would have wrote things down, but even that didn't come into it. It was not part of what they did back then. It was only when we look in the books, and I think the very first book was the Book of Doctors. What you have to remember is that people take it on the cuff. They look at things on the telly, they read things that people have wrote and take it as the gen. They take it as fact, when in fact it is not. Authors that have not done proper research beforehand and wrote books. But if you look at the archaeological data, the things that they have found out, you will find that it actually is nothing to do with the Nordic countries. But of course, if you don't get the true meaning, you don't get the true meaning behind the symbols, then you're not going to be using them in the right way. Because if you think a symbol means a certain thing and it doesn't, what does it mean? You have to remember, it may mean something totally different. So in fact, ruining your magic, ruining what your intent really is. And so guys, it's something to be really looked into before you use the historical truth behind it. It actually means magical symbol or magical stave. And a lot of people think that it is linked to the runes, where in fact it has absolutely nothing to do with the runes. The runes was an alphabet brought through from the Roman times and the Germans. So it has, if you look at different historical facts on that, you will find that it came through as the language that was used in the alphabet, but it was done in certain ways so that it was easy to carve into wood, into stone and things like that. It was never intended as a magical thing. But of course, in myth and of the gods, we know that Odin hung on that tree to get the knowledge of the runes. So in fact, there are two ways of looking at these things, and that is the thing I want to bring across. That is the point I want to get across to you all, that it doesn't really matter what you believe. At the end of the day, it's your practice, it is your truth. So what I'm trying to get across is that if you know the history behind something, you can make the most of it, making your own symbols done the same way, but with your understanding behind it. Not believing what's wrote in books, not believing in what people tell you. They will sell a fast buck, they will sell a lot of t-shirts with symbols on because the kids or the people that are buying them will believe they mean a certain subject, when in fact they have no relevance to that subject at all. So you might ask, what's the point of it then? Well, everything can be used. Anything can be used in magic because the power comes from within, and it also comes from your faith, your will to know and to do. So in fact, it doesn't matter what you draw or what you do, it is a powerful thing. Pen on paper or made into a talisman even. So the truth behind it, guys, is it came after the start of Christianity. So if we go to Iceland, when Christianity started to take over, that is when you find the first bits of Galdrastafir. That is when you start to see these symbols, but they weren't in abundance like the way we would expect from all the shows like Vikings and all them sort of shows. Not at all. They also do not have anything to do with Scandinavian culture. That may be a disappointment to you all. And it is something that you need to get your head around, that we believe something so rigidly that to have it almost taken away from you could make you feel very angry, because you really believe that these things have a connection to the gods or a connection to the myths, when in fact they don't. They are in fact a combination of various Eastern and Western religions, and emphasising mainly the Jewish religion seen in Iceland, in grimoires, which are known as the black books of magic. So you can see the link. It was not anything really to do with the runes, or you will not find it wrote. Any symbol of that will be in any of that. And archaeologists have done lots of digging, finding things, and there has never been any reference to these symbols. So you say to yourself, I'd like to know what the truth is. The black books of magic were around the 1500s, and that was the period of time it sort of started from, but it was more or less later, around the 1800s, that the symbols were really renownedly seen, but not seen in a way that we think they would have been. So the oldest one comes from a book of doctors, the Latin doctor or doctor, excuse the pronunciation, but it is a book which had medical things about herbs in it. And there is one particular symbol which it looks very similar. This particular one was about herbal remedy, it's about healing, and so the characteristics would have been drawn this way and done in a set way, but it's the very first one that you may have seen if you were looking way back. And in fact, back in them days, you will find that medicine, which would have been herbal remedies, that prayer and magic was all mixed together in one little pot and stirred and arranged into healings and remedies and all sorts of stuff. And so you see, from that book was the very first one, and it did mean healing, and it was one of the very basic ones. So sort of the wheel with all the arms and just little tags on each one. So we can see that it doesn't go back to Viking times. That is long gone. And the sad part also for those of you who are steeped in this understanding that we feel that the gods were still being shown as our gods, even though wrote by Christians, everything that we've got that's written has a Christian aspect to it. And so really we do not have anything to take back that far. And we can only go by the literature that we actually have. But because of the modern day pagan and heathen trainings, we have been sort of told that these things are fact, that these symbols and the runes and everything was Viking period, was the traditions of the Scandinavians and the Danish, where in fact they had very heavy Christian influences and can have a little bit of a knock-on effect on how we see ourselves, and can be a bit of a shock. So for those of you who are finding this difficult to accept, I apologise, because I know how I felt, and this is one of the reasons why I don't use these symbols. Not because it had a Christian influence to it, but because I want to practice the way it comes from within me, and I think that is more natural to the path that I'm on, that you cannot stay stagnated, that you have to move forwards and not stick with the past. The symbols are pretty to look at and can be used still. We just use them in a different way. We make sure that the symbols are not exactly the same, but we make them the way we would like to use them, so that we understand the meaning behind them. And in fact that would then help you in the magic that you're doing, because it will actually be the same as your intent, and you will get more results from it. Of course, a lot of Seder practitioners and people like myself would go get information from the gods or from deity to know what we're using and if we should even be using it, or just the intent from within. It is a personal preference, and it is something that only you can know how you feel. But I wanted to get the history across because there's so much out there that is not truthful. And I think if you want to learn about what you are doing, you need to really believe it. And so studying is all part of that. And to prove a point, you've only got to look at the Book of Solomon. In that book it has many symbols that have been drawn, the keys of Solomon, which are just like these symbols, because some of it came from there, some of it came from Christianity, and some came from other places around the world. Guys, what you have to remember is that magic comes from within. It comes from your intent. It comes from your inner power. It comes from how you are as a person. Magic doesn't have anything to hold it into one place. It is available to all around the world, and a lot of it came from Egypt. Even though we are believing in the Norse traditions and myth and believing in the pantheon of the gods, there are so many others around the world with their own traditions. But if you look at the spark, the very beginning, it comes from the same source. And so symbols and runes and all of that really are very little part of it. The part that is important is how you are, your relationship with the gods, your relationship with your own practice, your relationship with who you are. So never make a symbol or an item very important. The tools of a witch, the tools of a practitioner are not the thing that does it. It is not the item that does the trick. It is the person that brings it through. And you need to remember that when you are practicing your path. It is not the things that you hold or use or burn. It is what you are doing, how your relationship and your truth is within you. Always remember that, guys. The power is from you. So you could make your own, or you could take one that you can see and then change it slightly, moving the arms around or adding little bits to it. And at the same time of doing that, you would then seek deity or the one that you want to be involved in this particular symbol. And then by using that, by meditating on that god or goddess and bringing them into your thought pattern, into what you want to write down and make a symbol of. And this symbol could be used in many ways, guys. You could have it printed on t-shirts, you could have an amulet made of it, or you could paint it on something or write it on something. There are so many things you can do with it. It can be used, but you would know what the real meaning behind it is because you have designed it, but you have also brought the gods through at the same time. And that is the thing, it's bringing that connection together and making this object an object of power. And then people would say to me, in fact I had this question very recently, how do you charge your symbol? How do you charge your Galdrastafir? How do you charge it to the god that you want? Well, the fact is, the intent is there before you even start. The thought is already started. Thought made word, made deed. Once you have thought something, it's already started. The power has already started. So you want to charge it. Well, charging something is putting your emphasis, your power on it to make it work. And so it comes down to your belief, your intent, and the fact that you want it to be towards a certain god or goddess. You invite that deity into the process right from the beginning. So when you're thinking about it, you invoke that god or goddess and ask them to be present with you and help you to think of something to put on paper, to get an idea of how you want it to go. And then they are involved. You've already gone into the way of encouraging them to be part of it. You've sought them and they have come. You've invoked them and they are with you. And they are with you from the start to the end. So they're not going to wander away. They know that you are doing something that needs them involved in it. And if they do arrive, they've come to help or they've come to be part of it. So you seek them at the beginning. You also maybe put things around that they like. So, for example, if you were working with Freya, you could bring amber into it. You could bring all the things she likes. You could have statues of cats or other animals. She likes other animals. You could have feathers. And just getting the idea of bringing in that essence of Freya. Drink mead. Bring things to the table. Get to know her. Light the candle. Light a golden candle or a yellow candle. And so you see, burning the incense that she would like as well. Once you've done all that and you've brought her in and she's come, you can feel her energy. That's when you say to her, I want and I intend to do this. You've brought her to see this Galdrastafir and she knows what you're trying to do. She knows your intent before even you do. So you brought her through and you're drawing this beautiful symbol. She will help you to move it around. You ask her opinion and you will get the thought of what to do. Once you've done it as you would like it, that's when you start to put your energy in. You ask her for her energy by invoking her and praising her and bringing her energy. Will set your energy off as well. And as you get those energies mingled, you will push it into this by holding your hands over it and asking her to be with you at a set point and feel that energy building up. Now there are many ways you can do this, but bringing that inner power comes from you, comes from within. And so I have videos on it. I'll link one above, but one is how you get your power together. You need to be able to do that, to put that energy into the object that you're trying to instill. And once you've charged it, it is for you to use. And you make sure it knows what type of charging, for there are many types of charging. Bringing elements also into it is easy, for you would have some earth on the table, a candle for fire, air, you could have incense, and a bowl of water. So you would hold this or put it in the middle of these elements. You've already drawn through the spirit. So the next thing you will do is sprinkle some earth on it and say, by the power of earth, this is instilled within. May you be stable and hold your ground. Then you come to the water and you sprinkle some on it and you say, life comes from blood and water, and mingled together brings power. I instill this within you this day. Then you go to fire and you hold the flame above it and you say, may the light of the fire be within you, the intent to push forwards in what you need to be doing. And then you go to air and you push the incense just above it and let the smoke delve over it and let it be known and say, air, breathe life into this and make it all possible, and then bring it all together in your mind's eye and see it, and then say to the gods or to the god or goddess that you're using, bring your energy, O Great One, with mine this day to promote this, and tell her what it's for, or tell him what it's for. And with that, it is charged, and you have the elements within and the god or goddess within, and you have made your own symbol, and you can have it anywhere. So guys, this is just one that I wanted to put up today because I saw a video on somebody that thought they knew all about it, but hasn't done their studying, hasn't found out what's what. And I just wanted to quickly go through what my idea and what I found out about it, because I want to share knowledge with you and help you to make the right choices in your practice. So I hope none of you out there are offended or upset by what I've told you today, because at the end of the day, it's whether you believe or not, whether you want to study on it or not, whether you want the truth behind it or not. All you have to do is a bit of research and you will too find out. But not the sort of research of modern day books. You need to look at things about archaeology and history and stuff like that. And it will come to you. You will be taught, you will know. And on that note, guys, I'm going to leave it. I hope you're all well. I want to thank any new subscribers today. I really do appreciate it. And to those that are always here, thank you so much. So wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of Elaine.